LeBrocq, and I'm here with Officer Arce, Sergeant Jessica, and what is your last name?
DeJesus.
DeJesus, and Amber Arce, who is married to Officer Ray Arce. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the Unity Tour. Could you tell me what is the Unity Tour and why was it started?
Sarge, you wanna
I could begin. So, one of the chief of police, Patrick Montori, of Florham Park, he actually started this Unity Tour with the purpose to bring awareness and to bring light to fallen officers that have died in the line of duty. I believe they started with anywhere from 4 to 18 officers when it first began in a ride from New Jersey to Washington, D.C. to the National Memorial. And it has grown since to about 3,000 members nationwide, actually even worldwide, bringing awareness. And every year in May, these officers ride from New Jersey, actually from different areas. We have some that come from California, not riding, but different areas, some from Virginia. And we end up in D.C. for the Police Week.
And how long have you personally been riding in the tour?
About 12 years or so.
And tell me just a little bit about it. You started 12 years ago. So now, what is it like when you're riding the tour? Talk about the camaraderie, the purpose, the feeling.
So my first ride was in 2007. I started working with the police department in 2005. I was extremely nervous, to take this on. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've had in my life. Obviously, there's been other good things that happened, but it is one of the top events that I participate with, the fact that you're riding alongside with the purpose of recognizing, never forgetting, bringing honor to the name of these officers that have sacrificed their lives to protect us. I get goosebumps just speaking about it because it's amazing. I remember my first year riding my bicycle and started talking to a gentleman next to me, and he was from Australia. So speaking with the officer from Australia was like, wow, this is so cool. Tell me a little bit about it. And we just started talking, and ever since I've been addicted. And we try to, in our department specifically, and I know other departments, but we try to get all the officers like, hey, try it at least once. That's how it came in the unit. Like, guys, you have to try this. You have to see what it's about, the feeling of these 3 days, putting all your heart into this ride and making sure you arrive in DC for that fallen officer. And like I said, there was times during the ride where it gets hard and you're like, the weather, be it the weather, be it the ride itself. And we carry bracelets with the names of the officers that we're honoring that year. And I remember just kind of like tapping the bracelet and being like, this is for you. We have to keep going. And it might sound a little crazy, but it does help. It's like, hey, this is who I'm riding for. This is the purpose. Keep going and make sure we finish that because they didn't have the opportunity.
That is amazing. Now, Officer Arce, you just started doing the ride and being a member of the Unity Tour. So it's been 2 years. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
So last year was a reason, Sergeant DeJesus was the reason I actually rode last year because, like she said, they tried to get everybody involved. I remember when I first got hired, there were spots that opened up and it was very hard to get into the Unity Tour. And one of the officers weren't going to be able to make it. And they were trying to get me on the team, and I backed out, right? I was nervous. I'm new guy on the block. So I was like, man, I really don't know the senior officers. And Sergeant DeJesus at that time, and I believe it was Sergeant Guzman, they were like, no, you got this, you can do it. I gave him a million excuses. I didn't do it. And then last year, she was in the unit. I had nowhere to go. So she was my immediate supervisor, so there was nowhere I could run. I saw her every day. She said, no, you're riding this year. And what I do in the Unity Tour is a little different than Sergeant DeJesus. I would be what's called motor support, and we block off the roads, the intersections, as the cyclists come through the intersections and through the towns. And for it being my first year, I made a promise to myself, as long as I'm healthy and have air in my lungs, I'm gonna make it a mission of mine to participate in the Unity Tour. It's very beautiful seeing all the riders, and as you pass certain parts, everybody merging, because you start merging, and then the Unity Tour just gets bigger and bigger. So when you see all the cyclists passing you, and me, myself, I try to cheer them on, right? I'm yelling from the top of my lungs, like, go Sarge, or go, just screaming, you know, because I can imagine, again, I'm riding a motor, they're actually, you know, pedaling, and I don't know how many steps or whatever they're doing, but, you know, just to see them sweating in the rain, it doesn't matter the weather, we're riding, they're riding, we're riding. So to see that, it's motivating, right? And it's inspirational as well. So my first year, it was very something to remember, and I would have to agree with the sergeant that probably one of my top achievements.
So you were mentioning the distance. It's from New York all the way to Washington, D.C. Is that correct?
Yep.
So how many days or how many hours does this take?
It's about 300 miles, give or take, and it's about 3 days or so. It actually starts, the first day we ride in New Jersey, the second day we ride to Delaware, the third day we ride to Annapolis, and the fourth day we ride into D.C.
And do you notice that you have a lot of support?
Oh, it gives you the chills as you're riding. Like businesses, residents, they're outside cheering you on, clapping. You know, kids. It's beautiful. I tell people, you know, last year my family didn't get to see me ride into Washington D.C. because you know, it was so last minute, so new. I was learning myself, but I definitely told my family I expect every single one of you guys to see me ride into Washington D.C. It's an experience, even if you don't have friends or family. In the Unity Tour, I encourage everybody. If you know anything about Police Week, the Unity Tour, just watching those officers and you know, those support people riding in, you're never going to experience anything like it, never.
So who gets to participate in the tour? It's families of the survivors and, of course, other police officers. Who's eligible to participate?
Some retired officers, active law enforcement, and survivors.
It sounds like you have people coming from all over. You mentioned already Australia. Where do the officers come from to ride in the Unity Tour?
It's worldwide.
Yeah,
We've had officers
everywhere.
from anywhere and everywhere. So basically, yeah, anywhere they could actually. If you could make it to New Jersey and bring your bike, the Unity Tour itself, they do an amazing job putting it together.
Now, other than the ride for the Unity Tour, is there any other way that the police force tries to garner awareness for the fallen victims that perish on duty?
We have memorial services for our officers, specifically Tommy Ray J and David Formeza, who have fallen in the have died in the line of duty, specifically to Perth Amboy. So we make sure to honor them in their specific dates by having services for them. We have a mini bike ride as well for them in Perth Amboy on one day. It's about 20 miles itself. And then when officers, like if an officer dies in the line of duty, we wear mourning bands over our badges. So you would see that black band covering, which is representative of that an officer passed.
What are some of the most memorable moments in the history of the Police Unity Tour?
Do you want to say yours?
For me, from what I saw was the vigil, that big where everybody's on the yard and they do a candle lighting, and it's to have so many people, and again, this is for me, for someone else it might be different, but to see so many people in one place in a big lawn, you could hear a pin drop, and there's over thousands of people. And to hear, you know, the crying, the sniffles, it's just something that stays with you, for forever. It's just really memorable. I don't know about you, Sergeant.
With that, incorporating also meeting the families. It's such a humbling experience. It chokes me up right now to think of, there's a specific, like this last time, there was a mother who she came up to, she's like, hi, and she just said hello, and her son had died, I believe in Texas. And she's like, you guys remind me of my son. Mind you, it's a son, I'm a girl, but she's seeing something in all of us, that representative of her son. And she's almost taking us as, these are my children as well that I need to come and honor and protect and so forth. So it's so humbling.
And it's hard for people to really understand the gravity of the loss and the pain that people feel. I saw Anthony Raspa, who was, we all know, a state trooper that was killed in a line of duty. And I saw his father a year after. And he just, a year later, broke down in tears. People don't realize the devastation this has because most of the officers are young, healthy individuals that are tragically killed in the line of duty.
Yes.
Sergeant, you were mentioning that you had another special memory that you wanted to add. And what was that during the Unity Tour?
So one of the special memories I have is like I said, my younger brother, Willie. I get emotional because obviously he's my younger brother. Us riding together in the Police Unity Tour, side by side, for the same cause, the same purpose of honoring these officers was something that meant so much to me. I know it meant so much to him and also to our parents that we're showing this unity for the bigger picture of the fallen officers and so forth. But it really meant a lot to me to have him next to me.
And how long has your brother been on the force?
He's been on since maybe 2016, about or so. So he started way after me, but.
Is he a little younger?
Yes, he is.
So you had your little brother right
Yes,
away.
I took care.
Nice.
That's exactly, like, I remember being young and taking care of him. And now it's like he protects me, I protect him. And just riding side by side that we protect society, you know, to an extent in our duties, it's one of the most beautiful memories I have.
That's great. How does it make you feel knowing that you're part of something bigger than yourself and raising awareness and also keeping the memory alive of people that have lost their lives and their families?
It's very emotional for me. It's a mix of emotions, a mix of feelings. It is something that since that first time, I haven't stopped, other than when I had my children. There was a few years I had to take off for when I had my children, but I was so eager to come back so we could make sure that their names are known. Hey, we're riding, this sacrifice is being done. Even though it's such a tiny sacrifice that we're doing on our behalf, we're doing it for them and making sure their memory lives on.
Yeah, I got to agree with Sarge that I'm a part of this bigger picture for awareness. We're not going to forget you. And when you get there, the accomplishment of who you're writing for. Again, it's something, it's hard to put into words. I didn't realize it was going to be this hard to put into words, but it's an awesome feeling. And to be a part of the bigger picture, it feels good. It feels good.
Since you both participated in the tour, when you arrive at the memorial, you're met by families and their loved ones, you know, people who have sacrificed everything, made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. How do you prepare yourself emotionally for that? Because it's got to be difficult. It must really hit hard.
And wearing those bracelets as a remembrance while you're going through. You talked a little bit about earlier, 3 days and you're tired, you're going through the rain. How does it make you feel, and why is that so important for the fallen officers to do this?
Because it's almost like, it almost is a physical reminder of this is why we're doing it. You are the reason, and you look at that name. When that weather hits bad, when you're tired, when your legs feel like, oh, I can't make it up this hill, it's that physical reminder. And like I said, it's almost like a superpower that you get. It's almost like, oh, okay, they can't be here. That is unfair for me to think that I could quit. Absolutely not. We're not quitting today because this officer didn't get the chance to do it. So,
my buddy, another officer, he blew both his quads. Was it his quads or his hammies? Quad. He blew both his quads. And again, to see, he needed a little pep talk, but he didn't quit. And he rode. And again, it's to see that, right? And because again, I'm here, they're not. I'm going to do this. And he blew both his quads. He wiped out half the team when he fell. He fell, wiped out half the team, but he still didn't quit.
And they all got back up.
They all got back up, and that's what it's like. You just have to be there to see it, man. Like, people go through some stuff, but there's no quit. There's no quit. You embrace the suck, and it's like she said, that bracelet is a reminder, man. Like, mine was around my handlebars to my motor, because I'm riding. I can't keep looking at my wrist, but I was like, there's those days we had, I think it was 2 days, almost 3, man. The weather was, you start questioning things, but then to see my buddy take out the team, blow his quads, and still get on that bicycle and still cycle through, and to see the faces of the riders, just like, I give it to you guys, man. bless your souls, man. And again, I think it's everybody has that same thought: is I'm here, they're not.
Can you share a memorable experience with one of the families, perhaps when they receive the remembrance bracelet? You know, what did it mean to you to honor their loved one?
So the officer I had was Officer Gail Cobb. She was the first African American woman to be killed in the line of duty. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe it was 1974, the first African American woman. Now, the reason why, because Sarge was like, you have to, you know, she was like, you don't have to, but I recommend choosing a ride for someone. So I said, okay. So I started doing my research. That same day, my daughter, who's 4, said, Daddy, I want to be a police officer like you. And, you know, so that right there, I was like, all right. So I tried to gear it to something, because she said the same thing. Try to get, you know, I said, Sarge, when you ride for someone, what are you looking for? And she said, kind of like my life, like something that relates, someone or something that relates to me. So I did the same, right? My daughter's half African American. So, you know, I was like, all right, let me choose this person. So I didn't get to see the family for my person, because unfortunately, her son, her only child, was convicted of murder. It was alleged that he murdered someone. So I didn't have, but I got to see her name, and I got to leave the bracelet. Sarge said, you know, we get 2 bracelets. So I got to leave a bracelet for her, and I still got her bracelet actually in my SUV. So
That must really hit home, thinking of your daughter.
oh man, it was tough. Yeah, it was tough.
And I think that's why it's so important. We try to tell all the new riders, ride for someone that kind of relates to you. So in the past year, in these most recent years, I've ridden for police officers that are moms. One of them most recently she was conducting actually her child. She gave birth. She left her baby in the NICU unit. Went back to work because of trying to conserve her time off to be able to use it when the baby came out of the hospital. She did a search warrant the day before the baby's coming out, and they killed her, getting that search warrant. And I get so emotional because I can't imagine having to, hey, it's my last job before I'm able to go with my kids. I'm doing it. You know, she had to go back to work to be able to save her time, to then go be with her child. And she passed away the day before. I have 2 children. I had them, you know, later on in my career. So I can't imagine. I just can't. You see, it's you know, you can't. Or
With your daughter, who's 4-year-old, are you going to try to dissuade her from becoming a police officer, or are you going to support her entirely with what you know about the dangers and risks?
I am going to, if I'm going to give her what I experienced, what I went through, right? I never wanted her to feel like my dad doesn't have my back, right? So if that's something, you know, she really wants to do, I'm going to support her. I'm going to be there for her. I'm going to tell her everything Daddy went through, right? And Mom as well, right? Because Mom is a key component to this. So Mom could speak from, you know, the civilian side of it. But as a father, and seeing with Sarge, you know, how Sarge just got emotional, I would not want her to do law enforcement. Not that it's a bad career or anything like that. It's just the unknown and the not knowing. And then, you know, as a, you know, parents, you know, I can imagine how our parents are like, you know, hey, Mom, I'm going to do this job, or Dad. And, you know, I know me, I'm a worry kind of guy. So I'm going to be there like, oh, man, you know, I know what she's probably going to get into. I did this. I'm not going to be able to sleep. So I wouldn't want her to do it, right? But if that's something she really, really wants to do, I'm going to support her.
And Amber, how do you feel about it? We all know she's only 4. And she might want
Right. Well, you know, for 4, she has been very consistent with that response.
Very.
I'm like, okay, sure. It's tough. You know, like my husband said, I would want to support her as much as I can, but as a woman, you know, and you're the greatest example, you know, unfortunately, even in my own career, it's hard. You know, you want to put your family first, but if you have a career, sometimes that has to go on the back burner. And these are things as a woman that I'm gonna have to speak to her about. You know, he's gonna be able to tell her how she has to unfortunately have a more of a always look over her shoulder, and it's not gonna be easy. And as great and as rewarding of a career as it is, it's also concerning. You have to be very cautious, and of course it's really going to be us. I'm sure that we're going to have to help each other, support her, because I want to see my kid come home every day, you know?
Do you have any personal experience with a loss that's affected you and why you want to give back and partake in the Unity Tour?
I myself in the department, you know, I had Lieutenant Formeza. He was my sergeant before he was a lieutenant. So he went to the opposite side. He went to, we have something called the A side, B side. So we worked B side together. He worked A side, and it was been some time since we worked with each other. But just knowing that at some point, you know, we worked. He was my senior officer, like my superior officer, and to know that you get a call that, hey, one of us are, you know, something happened. And then for me, he was employed still. He still was a police officer. But Arcadio Rivera, he had a heart attack outside of work. He was still an active member of our police department. And that one hit me hard because he actually trained me. He was one of my field training officers. And when I tell you, man, he was like the people's champ in the city of Perth Amboy. That one hit home pretty hard for me. That one was a tough one for me.
And how about you, Jessica?
Tommy Ray J, he actually, we became friendly on the job. His wife also worked with us as a police officer. She was very involved in the police department, so I was friendly with both of them. And I actually had that, when the call came in, I actually was in another academy. And to get that call that he passed away while working is something that we'll never forget. Just remembering you're never going to speak to them again. Never work alongside of him again. He never got to see his daughter, which Mimi, who is our coworker, was our coworker at the time, she was pregnant. It's something that we'll never forget, and it's difficult. And like you said, this is since 2008 he passed away. Till this day, it's still like, it's something that
It's 15 years
imagine.
later, and
Yes.
you can never let it go. It's always going to be part of your life. Now, Amber, as a spouse of a police officer, how does this affect you?
I think it's easy to almost fall into routine, right? You know, I'm thankful that they work in a department that it's not high crime rates, and I feel like sometimes it's easy to say, hey, okay, you're working your normal shift, as long as you don't get called into a last minute call, I'm gonna see you tonight. And then that won't always be the case, God forbid, you know? So I know when he went to his first, the Unity Tour last year, and he called me, it was actually Mother's Day weekend. So he said that they had met a mom, and someone was speaking about losing, you know, their spouse, and you're left behind with your kids and you have to raise them yourself. And I can't imagine what that would be like, you know, getting a phone call like that. And that's why sometimes I have to snap myself out of it. Like, you know, I do have to make sure you get those goodbyes in, and you speak to each other often. And, you know, you don't start the day on a bad note, end on a bad note, because anything can happen. You know, tomorrow is not promised. The next hour is not promised. So I think this helps bring awareness to that, and almost help it become a reality.
And how has the tour helped you to cope with the loss of loved ones or people that you knew, your friends?
For me personally, it's just such a comforting, inspiring ride to do. It provides that every year, no matter what. If it's been 15 years, we go to that wall every year and I see Tommy's name. I'm able to see it there. People are still honoring his name. Because every year there's riders that ride for different. Every year they do ride for a new officer that has passed, but you could still ride for someone that has passed in the past. So it just, hey, we're making sure your name will never be forgotten. That name, Tommy Ray J, that name, Anthony Raspa, everybody, you're going to know it's going to stay in our memories.
For me, it's what I've taken away from it is it's very humbling, right? And not to take it for granted, right? To embrace the suck, especially when I'm on the tour, because again, I'm here, and unfortunately, they're not. So who am I to complain, right? Like, how dare I? The way I looked at it while I was doing this was, how dare I complain? There was 2 days where it was a monsoon, and I was like, you know, you start questioning, like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm getting drenched, I'm soaked, and then I had to check myself. I said, how dare I even think these thoughts? Because I have this opportunity, and one of our fellow brothers or sisters doesn't, right? You know, so it's humbling. It reminds you, you know, yeah, I'm having a crappy day at work. You know, someone may be getting me upset, but I have that opportunity still. Someone didn't, someone doesn't, you know what I'm saying? So it's very humbling for me. That's what I took away while I was doing all of this.
How has it impacted you in your view of being a police officer?
I think it goes by what he's saying. It's just humbling to know, hey, it makes you stronger, it humbles you, and it makes you realize you do have outside resources, you do have outside people. This stranger who's riding next to me, I might not know you, but I know you. We have some of the same aligned views and on our job, and we all have that one common goal.
What has been the most meaningful experience participating in the tour?
The most meaningful for me, for me meeting these families, because it makes you cherish what you have, right? Goes, you know, almost along with the humbling, right? Like, you know, your kids are acting up, right? They're giving you a run for your money that day, but I'm here still with my kids. So it just cherishing these moments, right? Because in the Unity Tour, it's not all law enforcement. Some of the, Sergeant, correct me if I'm wrong, some of the families, like I was riding next to an Arizona State Trooper. She was a widow.
A survivor.
Yeah, a survivor. That was the word, a survivor. So, you know, riding next to her and her telling me her story and how long she's been doing it and why she does it, you cherish it, right? Because it's like, wow, like that could be my wife that's riding here on my behalf, or my daughters, or, you know, so it's very, you cherish those moments.
Meeting the families, like I said, I think there's nothing like meeting someone who has gone through it, because I could only understand it to an extent, but feeling their power, their, like that mom, I will never forget her. And she did talk about her grandchildren. She said he left his children. It's something I cannot conceive, because but it's so emotional, and you just want to kind of make it right, and you can't. And this is our way of making it.
How has being part of the Police Unity Tour not only changed you as an officer, but also as a person, as a human being?
For me, I'm going to say more alert. Definitely alert. Don't take things for granted. Humbling. You know, this is, I think my wife said it best, is we can't take this for granted. You know, you just can't, because, like, you know, Sarge just gave that story of that individual, that female. You know, I highly doubt in a million years she would have thought I'm going for one day. She probably, you know, again, I don't want to think for her or say, but, you know, I'm going for one day and I'm going to be with my baby. That was probably, you know, I know if that was me, my wife's at home in the hospital. I mean, my wife's at the hospital. I just got to go get this one day done, going to my wife, right? At no point would I assume that she thought she wasn't coming home to her beautiful child. So definitely, we can't take these moments for granted. So it definitely changed, and it's a reminder, right, while you're doing this, like, you know, not to get complacent, you know. So for me, it's a reminder of, you know, I can be here today and gone tomorrow, gone within the hour, minute, whatever. So
I have to agree with that. It's just the vigilance, the attentiveness at work, and the power of love, and giving it every day, because we don't know. I have a brother who's in law enforcement, and every day is, I guess, as an older sister, it's the same thing. Like, hey, are you okay? What are you doing? Is everything okay? That worry comes in. So it's changed in that sense of make sure you give love every day because we don't know what's going to happen.
Now, the money that's raised, what is it used for?
It's used for the memorial itself to bring awareness to the officers, to the families, and for the survivors' families. It's very important to make sure that the families have support even after the officer has passed away, and to let them know you are not alone, be it with support from personnel, but also financial support.
So what are the future goals now and aspirations of the Police Unity Tour? Is it to get it any bigger? Is it to...
Absolutely. I think so. I don't want to speak too much on what they necessarily the bigger picture does. However, my understanding and from us, it's basically to make sure they are never forgotten, to make sure that awareness is now not just at this level, it's always going to be on a bigger platform. It's always going to be kind of like, I don't want to say in your face, but more, everyone's going to know that we need to bring awareness to these officers, that they're not dying in vain. They are going to be remembered for their sacrifice.
Have anything to add, Ray?
No, I think Sergeant nailed it. I think their mission, again, I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I think their mission is just to expand. We're gonna go to the top, and no one's gonna stop us. We need everybody to know that one too many is way too many.
So what message of hope or perseverance would you like to share with listeners who have lost a loved one?
That we will always treasure that individual. That person has not lost their life in vain. We are going to make sure that their name is heard. We're going to make sure, not if possible, we're going to make sure that this doesn't happen to someone else. We could try to learn from it. But just making sure that that name will not be forgotten and that person's sacrifice wasn't for nothing.
From what you've said, I'll let you think about it a little bit. What I feel is that you're not alone.
Yes.
We're here for you. You're here for your fallen brothers and sisters, and that's coming across so loudly. And I think that's beautiful that you care about one another deeply, that you would put yourself not only through the ride, but then all that emotional turmoil that goes with it by seeing the victims and how much they're hurting and just trying to talk to them and being there for them and sacrificing your time and energy away from your families in order to provide financial support through the tour for them. So I think it's beautiful. So now I'll give you a chance as an officer on the line. What message do you want to give to those families?
It is bottom line. We're here for you. We're here to support. We're here to honor. And I think that's very important, to honor that officer. Make sure that name resounds every day, no matter what. Because I think sometimes when people pass away, it's like, okay, they're kind of, and no, we're making sure that name's gonna resound every day and that their sacrifice is definitely gonna be known by future generations to come. Like that officer you wrote for, how she passed away many years ago, but we're still gonna make sure we remember, and the family's gonna know they are important to us.
Yeah, you're not forgotten. We're not gonna forget. And again, as long as I know Sarge, as long as she's breathing and she's healthy and I'm breathing and I'm healthy, we're gonna ride. We're gonna ride. Godspeed the Iron Horses. We're gonna ride.
But do you have any concerns when you hear about the funding of the police or lessening the police presence? Because just from an attorney and just a citizen, I don't want to go back to the 1800s before we had a police force and when you have gangs controlling everything. It just would create anarchy. And I know you can't talk much on this, but when you hear that, emotionally, it must affect you.
So for me, I'm put my dad hat on. Not Officer Ray. I would say as a civilian or citizen, I would want more than less. And that should tell you where my thoughts are, right? I'd rather have more than less, because with more things get done, right? But that's what these the people, the citizens, they vote as you will. But I know for me, right, like in my job, let's use my job as an example, I'd rather have more to work with than less, right? More technology, more things, more police cars, right? Because it makes our job easier. So I'd rather have more than less.
I just want to make sure that we're able to all get home safe tomorrow. And that comes with a lot, so.
It just reminds me, about when people say negative things about the police. That's fine and well until you need a police officer. It's the same thing with a lawyer. We take the same thing. Or make all the lawyer jokes you want until you need a lawyer. Yeah. Then you love the lawyer, and a doctor. Nobody wants to see a doctor, but they want a good one when they need one. So it's always great to have good officers, people that really care deeply to protect and serve our communities. So I want to thank both of you for coming here today,
you so
and
much.
Thank Amber. And
Thank you for having us.
I can't imagine how hard it must be to be a wife or spouse of a police officer where they're putting their lives on the line every day. It's as simple as the officer that you rode for that went on a simple search warrant and was killed. Anthony Raspa, simple citation, was killed in the line of duty, was run over. And you hear these stories every day. And it's unfortunate it happens so often that sometimes we become callous to it. But it's not callous. It's real life to the people that it affects. And that's what people really shouldn't care about. This could be you. Maybe you're not a police officer, but it could be somebody who's affected by a violent crime. And tomorrow's not promised to any of us. We look at the two hockey players who were just killed by a drunk driver. Yes. These guys are prime athletes in the peak of their life with kids and families, and a guy gets drunk and does an illegal pass and kills them. So it's not exclusive, this pain, to the police officers, but it's wonderful how you're making the public aware that the loss of life to the police hurts, and that you are there for the victims and the survivors. So thank you very much for your time and what you're doing for the community and the officers that have fallen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. It means a lot that you would take the time, to try to, spread the awareness.
Absolutely.
It's very rare that sometimes, people, it's usually, oh, all right, I'll donate. But, you guys are taking the time to actually want to know and spread the word to your viewers about the Unity Tour. And I really appreciate you and appreciate that, from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate you guys for that.
No, of course. What you're doing is wonderful. So it's been my pleasure to have you here. And if we can help in any way, we can pass the word along, we're more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
So next year, it is going to be May 9th, 2005. That's the first day. We ride out of, the host city. We're part of Chapter 1. We ride out of the host city, and we will be arriving in Washington, D.C. May 12th, which is a Monday. And then the vigil would be in D.C. the 13th.
That's wonderful. So if anybody wants to partake, how can they find more information on the Unity Tour? Is it online?
Yes, I would go to their website. You could go to the Police Unity Tour. Specifically, like I said, we're part of Chapter 1. They provide all the information there.
And also, if somebody wanted to support the tour, they should go online as
Absolutely,
well.
Yes.
Again, thank you for your sacrifice and going on the tour. So as a civilian, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.